Welcome back to Ecocentric. As you may already know, I'm trying to make a forest garden. It'll be native trees and the trees that I've purposely planted. Today we'll give an update on all those trees and shrubs that I have purposely planted. I hope you enjoy. Grapevine, of course, he leaves out in June. He leaves out the same time as he normally does. And you see we've got flowers. This thing is loaded in blossom buds right now. Now I don't know what's happening down among this. We can come up here. This is the one up closer to the shed. And it, same thing, has quite a few flower buds on it. Roses are just getting their buds. This is June the 21st, by the way, first day of summer. I always forget the name of this thing. But the flower buds are starting on this as well. Beautiful mauve colored flowers this one puts out. They're not coming back as well here. I'll show you the other ones later. But I do have some that's coming back good. And this is what I was waiting. There's somebody wants to buy a couple of these off me. So this is a good one. This one back in here is a good one. And we'll see what comes of them. So I do have actually, I'm looking at the 3 there right now that I'm comfortable that I could sell. I kind of missed the peak of the lilacs because they are purple. They're starting to turn white now and drop. But in the last video I mentioned my sore foot. Man, this thing is beautiful and it smells so nice. Found out that that sore foot was actually strained tendons. For 3 days after that, I couldn't walk. We're gonna have a beautiful snowball bush this year, aren't we? I never noticed any buds on this one yet. We'll take a look. Yeah, there's one starting here. So this one is just barely starting to get its buds. Another one starting there. And so after the 3 days of being laid up in bed, then I couldn't really put any weight on that right foot at all. Now this plant, I did find a couple little tiny flower buds starting. So this is our Valiant Grape. See, there's one there. You just have 2 or 3 flowers on them. So I'm not going to get anything out of that. There they are. See, I might get a few grapes there. And there's a couple more here. Over on this one, see, 1, 2, I did see several more. I might get some grapes on this vine. I'm not going to get very many, maybe a handful, but they're out in full sun, eh? So they should get fully ripe. Goji. Doesn't look like goji is going to do anything in our climate. Now, my research, I thought they would, so I'm going to keep trying, but I can't recommend them, of course. Now, this is exciting. So this is Romeo Cherry. I think I got a picture, I'll put it up, but you can see now that the flowers have dropped, and these come out later than the other cherry up further. So I don't know yet if I can't see any that's growing into cherries, but the flowers just fell, so it'll be a little bit yet. I'm hoping I get at least a couple cherries off that this year. This plant was so late to leave out, but now There is a lot of flower buds on this thing. It's all over it. I wonder if I'm going to get a good display of flowers off that this year. So it's the purple smoke bush. Juliet cherry. She was set back more, so that's why she'll be a little bit behind Romeo in producing flowers. No sign of any flowers on pear yet. I don't know how long I'll have to wait for that. See, this spring was busy and I was doing a lot of things. I didn't get time to show you the full bloom of this. I have so many mushrooms growing around the property. I think this is an edible one, but I haven't gotten to get a good idea on it yet. This rose bush is starting to get buds. So the common pear is what they call it, just common pear. The trees seem to be doing fine, just perfectly fine, so maybe when the time comes I will get fruit on this. You see, here's the firecracker goji that I bought as a plant from Vessies, and no, not a leaf, not even a sign of one. Once again, the Myro Blanchard plum, that the tree itself is very robust. Leaves out early, drops its leaves late, and grows well all during the growing season. You see, when I was laid up, all the grass has grown up. I did, even when my foot was sorer than it is now, I barely was able to get around in the last couple of days and mow around the hedges and then pull the weeds out away from the bushes so that I can get to show you these. But this one, he's got flowers there. This is an high bush blueberry. Chippewa, of course, another Myro Blanchard plum, and another Chippewa with a bunch of flowers. The flowers on the low bush blueberries are fully out. On the high bush blueberries, they were a little bit behind. I've got the trees. See, this is the Greek oregano on both sides of this Myro Blanchard plum. If you have a wet spot, plant a currant bush there. This thing is loaded every year, and this soil is wet pretty much all the time. Which is why I bought this thing and put here. This is a fox willow, and it's going to put on quite a few catkins this year. This is the first year it put on catkins. This tree was given me as a substitute for something else, but it's birch leaf pear. It puts on these little tiny pears that I think will be good to can like I do with cherries. Put them in, bottle them in light syrup, and they'll do excellent. So since this one is doing so perfectly well, now it's got me interested in actually adding that to my collection of fruit producing plants in the forest garden. Now you see this little one here, these bright green leaves. That's a Carolina allspice. It grows similar to an alder, the bush does, but puts on really fragrant small flowers that is perfect for deodorant and potpourri and that kind of stuff. So it's coming along. I'm going to have to clear this vegetation back a bit and surround it with some kelp, I think. But I'm happy with that. You see, I put the other birch leaf pear here and it didn't survive. So it's like that. In reality, if you get a bunch, if you're growing from seed like I do, if you get a bunch of them and try to find out where they will grow, and you never know, you put one here, that one didn't grow there. Let's see about backing up and showing you now. So we got that one there, and we go over, not changing the camera, and it's about right there is where the other one is, and that one's doing perfectly fine. At this point I'm kind of happy that I didn't get to do a tree and shrub tour until now, because these were awful late leaving out. This is honey locust. So some of them didn't, like this one didn't. That one though has a little thing right here. He's trying to grow. I have one there, and one there fully leaved out. This one, see, he's got a bunch of leaves here. So I have 5 honey locusts that seems to be doing fine. The grapevines, they leave out the same time, so maybe they'll be just perfectly fine. I have 5 honey locusts that's leaved out fine. I have that one that has quite a few leaves on it, and I have this one that's got the one little bit of growth. So 5 fine, and 2 that's trying to make it. The mulberries are leaving out later. Some of the trees leave out faster than others, but c'est la vie. That's the red mulberries. You can see there's 14 with leaves on them, so that's good. I think it's 15 actually. This is black locust. Now that's grown beautifully, isn't it? So that's doing even better than the honey locust. Now I have to keep this bed as a nursery bed and grow trees up. Maybe the those 2 biggest black locusts can come out now, and I got a big fully leaved out red mulberry there, so I'll put a ribbon on him and move that the fall. The ones that I want to move that seem to be doing perfectly fine, I'll just put a ribbon on them, and then come fall I'll move them over like I did with the Russian mulberry last fall. I got a smaller one here that's coming along. These, see, this is the kiwi that I put in this bed. It gets a winter kill on the tips, but I think it's just that they keep growing and growing and growing until the frost comes, and so the tips never get hardened to the frost, and you'll get tip dieback on these, I believe, every year. Not that that matters, because this is a new vine now growing off this side. So this vine will grow, since it's in its 2nd year, it'll grow longer than this original vine did. And there's another vine starting over the other side, so it will have 2 growing tips here. It's got a tip starting there. I don't know if that's going to come out into a vine or whether it be just flower. I don't know exactly how these flowers, right? Same thing over on that other one. We got vines starting out from the sides. I think this had flowers on it. Can't remember, but I'm not seeing any berries right now. So there's a gooseberry. Oh yeah, a couple right there. Over here. I mean, it's a really young plant, so I wouldn't expect to get a lot off that this year anyway, but we'll be able to get a taste of what those gooseberries taste like. Now see, when I'm doing my forest garden, I'm not removing all of this. I'm going to remove the sick and the dead stuff, and there's things that I'm going to let grow. There's quite a few, of course, spruce seedlings there and some birch seedlings. There's this thing that it doesn't look like a pin cherry or a choke cherry to me. There's no choke cherries around here anyway, so I don't know how a choke cherry tree would have gotten here. But The bark does look like a cherry tree, so it's some relative of a cherry tree, and I have to wait for that to produce fruit before I can figure out what kind of cherry tree it is. So it's staying there. Just over from this cherry tree, there's a damson tree right there that's trying to grow. I moved it down here and its original stem died back, but it's coming up close from the ground. That's what this is. And so I'll have to clear the vegetation back a bit, and same as the Carolina Allspice, I'll put some kelp around that. This is really tasty. They're red currants. I really like these. And just due to its size, I'm not getting very many, because as you can see, like the white currant, this tree is going to be loaded every year. This is a Wisteria, beautiful tree. And if one has time to give it its shape, I kind of sometimes prune it, and I take out old canes and stuff to keep it healthy. And it comes loaded in little white flowers. Beautiful when it's fully flowered out. I know that one back there is red, but I don't know what the color of these two are. You can go back in my videos and you probably find a video. This is, of course, the black gooseberry that we thought was this one. See, they flower out later. So that one's flowered, and there is flowers on this one as well. I haven't, I've got to get in and pull the grass out, but I'll talk about that later, because I think I want to do a Shed Wars video on about taking care of the grass around bushes. That Myro Blanchard plum here is doing the best. Last year, if I bring you in close, you see that green? Right from this point down here, all the way up. So I measured by spanning my hand, which I know was 6 inches across from the tip of my thumb to the tip of my pinky. 3 feet is what that grew last year. So you can imagine now, if that does that every year, it's going to be a big tree in very short order. It's not growing very fast, but it leaves out most years. It's loaded in flowers. It's a beautiful rhododendron, isn't it? That's my first successful cloning thing. That's the Romeo Cherry clone. There's a local gardener that has some sea buckthorn, and I visited them, and she gave me some cuttings because she had to prune them anyway. She gave me some cuttings from a male plant and some from a female plant. So I am doing a cloning trial now. If it works, then we'll you'll get to see it, because I'm going to make a bunch of clips and put them all into how I went about doing it. The raspberries, I don't know, they seem to be a little less this year, like the canes that's growing up. I'm not sure about what's going to happen there. Seem to be little spurs. The sugar maple, it is finally deciding that it's going to take off and start to grow. I'm really seriously considering getting another couple of sugar maples. Decide where I'm going to put them first, I guess. Cherry tree does what cherry trees do. They fill right out with flowers every year. But looking around, see this one? Like I said, it flowered earlier than Romeo, thus got pollinated earlier. It looks like I'm going to get quite a few cherries off it again this year. You wouldn't expect them to all be pollinated, but for the most part, looks like it's going to be fairly loaded in cherries. Now, this plum tree, I am not going to get 227 pounds of plums off that this year. There are some on there though. I was looking over the tree, it didn't put out as many flowers, and it's got some plums here and there, and when they get bigger we'll be able to see how many is on there. Put cardboard down around here. I don't have it finished, but I brought the honey locust over because I'm trying to save myself time. You see, I've got the sprinkler here. I'll do one around here, that's one area, and then I move the sprinkler up to the corner of that bed there and sprinkle that area, and then they'll get watered when I'm watering this. They are so late to leave out though, and some of them are not leaved out, so I don't know if they're surviving or not. I have that one, and that one, and that one. It's got leaves coming out on it. I was worried about these raspberries as well, but coming up here now, they seem to be filling in pretty good. I've got to get to work on this frame and redo something. I'm going to do it better. You see, this was a trial. I'm not dissing what I got done here. I did like it, but I'm going to take my time and get better sticks and do a really nice frame along here. This apple tree didn't have near as many blossoms on it this year as it did last year, and they're pretty much all gone now. There's apples throughout there, I would assume. I never actually searched this tree yet. Should be no shortage of blueberries on the low bush blueberries, eh? According to the number of flowers that's here, and the bumblebees are doing their job. Apple tree on the cliff. It was loaded in blossoms this year. I took a picture of it when it was in its prime. So here you go. Here's what it looks like in its prime when it's fully blossomed out. Same goes for this Ida Red. It was just as many blossoms as there are leaves. So I only managed to get one Siberian pea shrub to grow, but the one that did, coming back excellent. And look at how far it's growing already this year. I mean, it's only June the 21st. That thing's going to grow fast. So that's a definite keeper. And I'm going to get more seed and try to get more growing. You know, and this comes back to having a forest garden. Until I've got a tree to put there, I might as well just let this grow. It's going to be aspen, but there are things you can do with aspen. And then I have to just clear out around. There are some trees here, of course, like the maple. There are some smaller maples that I'll keep cutting the aspen away from, because I want the maple to grow and not the aspen. And in here is another bit of excitement earlier in the year. This is the tallest damson, and there was flowers up there. I don't see any fruit growing, but there was flowers. So this is the first time that I know of that this damson tree put on flowers. So once again, I've got to keep the aspen cut down. It has a sucker here, and I think there's a couple other suckers around. Actually, that's two suckers close together right there. And another one. So it's starting its own little grove of trees here. And I'll keep the aspen cut out of it. And same thing again, get some kelp and lay around it. And then if I want to make it beautiful, I'll chip up some branches and lay a layer of wood chips over the top. So I'm just going to mention up here, now we're up on the top, and so remember I moved those, I got those hedge apples. What's the name of them? Got the name of the tree, forgot now. But I've got two lines put across here. And of course I have one that's doing just perfectly fine right there. It's got a nice few leaves on it. I have this one that's pretty much fully leaved out. It's 2, 3, and the ones that I managed that the hares never got at basically is what's growing. And as far as the mulberries, remember I put all Russian mulberries up here. I have 2 here, but only one of them are alive. That's this one, and it's got full-size leaves on it. See? So the idea was that I was going to have a wall of trees with the Osage orange. In the opening I would have Russian mulberry on either side of the opening. And so I got one alive over there, but that one is alive, and so is that one. Now last fall, you remember, I planted out a bunch of Russian mulberry when they were going into hibernation, all up here. When I was done, I had 18 mulberry trees, plus one strange looking one. And I was up here just 2 days ago, and I checked them over. 12 mulberries, so that's 12 mulberries out of 18, and then I got the 3 over there that I just showed you. So that's 15 mulberry trees that's up here on this in this area now. And I'll come here and show you the strange looking one. Don't know what it is. Might be just an alder. But it was in with the, when I was trying to grow mulberries, I set the seed and this thing come up. What it is, we'll find out when it gets bigger, I guess. But once again, it's easier to see up here. Remember, I mentioned that I'm growing a forest garden. I will have all native trees in that. So you can see a lot of spruce seedlings. Alders, as long as you keep them in check, they are a nitrogen fixer and a very productive plant for biomass. You can cut them back, run them through the chipper. You've got a lot of leaves, of course, and your wood chips. You can cut them right down low and then they'll grow up again. Just cut and come again like your lettuce. I don't know all the trees, you see, and I have to come in and like key this thing out, right? Get varieties, watch it, see how it grows. It might be a good tree for coppicing, and might be good for doing baskets. You never know. That looks like some kind of a willow thing. So here's a funny thing, eh? Doing it by one of the mulberries that didn't survive. I just took the green stick from an alder and I stuck it down there to protect it from the other animals. There's no roots growing on it, at least not yet, but there's a leaf. Same thing happening with the green sticks of aspen that I put in, but no roots there. Here's a larger one of those willow jobbies. with an aspen growing right tight to it. I'm going to take a couple of pictures of that and see if Plant Snap will identify it for me. I was looking around for birch saplings or seedlings to point out. Then I thought, wait a minute, Jotham, you don't know what birch seedlings look like. But of course, here's a bigger one, and it's starting to peel now and get your typical birch look, right? So a lot of these seedlings, that when they're really small, you might mistake them for alder, like this one. See, still fully brown with dots. It's not streaks like a cherry, it's dots. That's a birch, and there's quite a few of them growing up here. So if it's a single tree, see, you may think that's a bunch of alders, but when you look closely, it's got the same dark and dotted bark. So this is a birch. Kind of let them grow for a bit. If they start growing in a clump, then it's an alder. It's a bush. But as long as it's growing up as a single stem, then you've got a tree. And wait till it gets fairly high, so you're not cutting down something that you would rather not cut down. If pin cherries, I gotta come back and look at this one. Thought the pin cherries didn't go in big clumps. The pin cherries was just 2 on 2. And you see the big bunch of cherries that's coming on this tree? I gotta keep an eye on that thing, and the tree is just loaded for the tiny tree that it is. Down right here, I was trying to grow a maturing apricot. You see? But of the 5 or 6 plants I had, it doesn't seem like I'm having any luck. Now, I really want to get those growing, so I am going to keep trying, but as of yet not. Now, that one, see, I want to be able to have a pathway that the quad can come in. So I just take up those sticks and I ignore that, mow over it, and I'll be able to get a swing around, and I'll get the path then. It'll turn back and it'll go in between the currant bush and the fox willow. Fly down the throat. So I'm going to take the cranberry that I mentioned, and I'm going to put it back right here, just a little bit back. This is higher up on a knoll, and back right there it'll be down closer to the water, which cranberries likes to have constantly moist ground to live in, right? So I'll put it back right there. I took those pictures and I went into Plant Snap, tried to ID it. Those apps are good for if you have really clear picture of the characteristics, but a lot of times they don't really work well. And then I thought, wait a minute, I have the book from university. I have the dichotomous key to key out pretty much any plant going. So I'm going to go around one day as the trees are flowering. I'll key out every one and try to ID every tree on the property. Might make a video of it, I don't know yet. Hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget now, if you want to follow along, you subscribe and hit the bell, and I'd appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. I'll see you in the next video.